Turn-based RPGs were supposed to be dead, right? That's what everyone said when action combat took over. But here's the reality. We're living through a golden age of strategic, thoughtful, deliberate combat that rewards planning over reflexes. From sprawling CRPGs with hundreds of hours of content to tight tactical experiences that respect your time, the genre has evolved into something far more diverse than it's ever been. So let's talk about 15 games that prove turn-based combat isn't just alive, it's thriving. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or should I say, the mind flayer in your head. Baldur's Gate 3 isn't just a great turn-based RPG. It's the game that made everyone else raise their standards overnight. Larian Studios took D&D 5th edition rules and built an experience where genuine tabletop freedom meets video game structure. The tactical combat operates on a grid with verticality that matters. High ground gives advantage. Shoving enemies off cliffs is often the smart play. Environmental interactions, oil barrels, water surfaces, explosive mushrooms, turn every fight into a puzzle where creativity gets rewarded as much as character builds. But combat is just one layer. The reactivity is what sets this apart. Choices in Act 1 ripple through the entire campaign. NPCs remember what you did. Companions have strong opinions, and relationships evolve based on how you treat them. You can play heroic, manipulative, or something between, and the game accommodates it all. The companion storylines carry real weight. Shadowheart's faith crisis, Astarion's trauma, Gale's literal time bomb situation. These aren't side content. They're integral to understanding why these people follow you. 3 acts with distinct tones. Act 1 gives freedom to explore. Act 2 tightens into darker focus. Act 3 opens into an urban sandbox where accumulated choices converge. Is it perfect? No. You'll hit bugs and performance issues, but these are rough edges on a game that redefined genre expectations.
Got ourselves competition already!
Stay back, sorcerer, and stay silent.
Before BG3 became the phenomenon, Larian proved they could execute this formula with Divinity Original Sin 2. This established their reputation for reactivity, environmental combat, and deep customization, and it still holds up as one of the most mechanically satisfying experiences available. Combat revolves around elemental interactions. Fire ignites oil and poison. Water conducts electricity. Rain extinguishes flames but creates steam. Blood can be electrified or frozen. Every surface, status effect, and ability chains into something else. Fights become elaborate setups where you're controlling the battlefield itself, not just targeting enemies. Character building offers absurd freedom. Want a necromancer using blood magic? Viable. A ranger who teleports while setting traps? Absolutely. The dual school system lets you hybridize in ways that feel broken until you realize enemies do the same. The origin character system lets you play pre-written protagonists with personal questlines, or create custom characters and recruit them as companions. Each origin has stakes woven into the main narrative. Playing as them versus having them in your party creates fundamentally different perspectives. Co-op deserves mention. Up to 4 players can split the party, pursue separate objectives, even debate major decisions through the argument system. It adds unpredictability. If BG3 is the polished mainstream version, DOS 2 is the mechanically deeper alternative that doesn't compromise on complexity.
The fate of our realm hangs in the balance.
From high fantasy to post-apocalyptic Colorado, Wasteland 3 is Inzile's love letter to old-school CRPGs, wrapped in a setting where moral choices feel genuinely uncomfortable and tactical combat demands respect. Your desert ranger's called to Colorado by the Patriarch, a dictator who controls the region through force and resource manipulation. His 3 children have gone rogue, and your job is hunting them down. Except nothing is simple. The Patriarch maintains brutal order. His kids represent different extremes: religious zealotry, anarchist revolution, sadistic cruelty. There's no clean solution. Combat operates on action points and cover mechanics. Positioning matters. Flanking bonuses are significant. Being caught in the open gets you shredded. Weapon variety feels distinct with meaningful trade-offs. Building a balanced squad means specializing characters while ensuring you have answers for robots, armored enemies, and animal swarms. The writing thrives on moral complexity without being edgy for shock value. Every option has downsides. Help one faction, alienate another. Spare someone. Deal with consequences when they betray you. The game tracks reputation with various groups, determining which quests unlock and who helps in critical moments. Companions react to your choices in ways that feel earned. Push them too far against their principles, and they'll leave or turn hostile. The frozen wasteland setting balances dark humor with genuine stakes. Bizarre encounters never undercut the human cost of the apocalypse.
Appreciated.
Square Enix's HD 2D aesthetic continues proving its worth with Triangle Strategy, a tactical RPG that wears its FFT and Tactics Ogre influences proudly while carving its own identity through political intrigue and branching narrative paths. The story centers on Sereno, a Wolfort, heir to a noble house caught between three nations heading toward war. Resource scarcity, salt and iron, drives conflict, making fantasy politics feel grounded in material concerns rather than abstract good versus evil. You're navigating trade disputes, succession crises, and choosing sides when every faction has legitimate grievances and unforgivable actions. The scales of conviction system determines which route you follow based on accumulated choices. It's not binary morality. Your decisions reflect values, utility, morality, liberty. Certain characters only join on specific routes. Major battles and story beats change depending on your path. 3 distinct routes with meaningfully different endings make New Game Plus essential. Combat takes place on elevation-based grids, where height advantage and flanking bonuses are critical. Character classes are fixed, forcing tactical thinking with available tools rather than building optimal parties that trivialize encounters. Each unit has specific roles, and success comes from synergy. Between battles, you sit through extended political dialogue. If you're here exclusively for combat, these sections drag. But if you're invested in watching alliances form and fracture, the slower moments build tension that makes battles hit harder.
Over already.
Intelligent Systems expanded Fire Emblem into something closer to a life sim merged with tactical combat. Three Houses balances relationship building, student mentorship, and permadeath strategy into one of the Switch's defining RPGs. Part 1 has you as a professor choosing one of 3 houses: Black Eagles, Blue Lions, or Golden Deer. Each has unique students with personal storylines. Your choice determines which perspective you experience the brewing conflict from. You spend months teaching, training skills, building support relationships. Part 2 jumps 5 years forward. War has erupted. Former students are commanders in opposing armies, and you're leading your house in continental conflict. The tonal shift from school life to fighting people you once taught lands because the game spends 30+ hours making you care before putting them on opposite sides. Combat follows series traditions: grid movement, weapon triangle, softened, permadeath, optional, terrain effects. The Gambit system adds battalion commands for coordinated attacks. Divine Pulse lets you rewind turns, encouraging experimentation rather than save scumming. Character customization runs deep. Students have default classes but can be retrained into almost anything through tutoring. Want to turn a mage into a knight? It takes work, but it's viable. 3 distinct routes with legitimately different perspectives make replaying worthwhile. Edelgard's route questions traditional power. Dimitri's explores trauma and revenge. Claude's digs into societal lies. The monastery activities grow repetitive, but the emotional weight of fighting former allies makes this one of the series' strongest entries.
Got him right where I want him.
The Jagged Alliance series disappeared for over 2 decades. Its return via Hamimont Games proves tactical mercenary simulation still has plenty to offer. This is deep, complex, unforgiving turn-based combat married to strategic management where every decision matters. You're running a mercenary company hired to overthrow a dictator in Grand Chin. The map opens as you liberate sectors containing resources, recruits, and intelligence. Time progresses in real time between missions. Enemy forces counterattack, supplies need management, mercs require rest. The strategic layer creates constant tension between pushing forward or consolidating territory. Combat operates on action points and interrupts. Moving, shooting, reloading, everything costs points. Every action is a trade-off between offense, positioning, and keeping reserves to react during enemy turns. The interrupt system lets you set Overwatch positions where mercs automatically fire when enemies move through their sight. Mastering interrupt separates competent play from expert tactics. Weapon variety and customization run deep. Rifles, SMGs, shotguns, explosives, all with meaningful range, accuracy, and penetration differences. Attachments modify performance. Ammunition types matter. Hollow point for unarmored targets, armor piercing for heavy enemies. Mercenary personalities add friction. Some refuse working together. Others demand higher pay. Permadeath means reckless play has consequences. The writing balances dark humor with legitimate political commentary. Grand Chin is clearly inspired by real conflicts, and liberation doesn't immediately fix systemic problems.
Just hold still, damn you!
Atlas took Persona 5 and expanded it into Royal, the definitive version adding an entire semester, new confidants, refined mechanics, and quality of life improvements that elevate an excellent JRPG into something essential. You're a Tokyo high school student, falsely accused and placed on probation. By day, you attend school, build relationships, work part-time. By night, you enter the metaverse where distorted desires manifest as palaces ruled by corrupt adults. As the Phantom Thieves, you infiltrate palaces, steal corruption sources, and force confessions. It's supernatural heist wrapped in coming-of-age narrative about standing up to systemic abuse. The calendar system structures everything, limited time before deadlines. Social stats gate activities and confidant relationships. Confidants offer combat bonuses and personal storylines. Time management becomes a metagame. Which confidant to prioritize, when to grind stats, when to tackle palaces. Combat uses press turn, where exploiting weaknesses grants extra actions. Targeting right elements, landing criticals, and technical combos let you chain attacks and trigger all-out attacks. Difficulty comes from resource management. SP is limited, running out forces retreat. Persona fusion is deep customization, capturing and combining personas to create stronger ones with inherited skills, optimizing resistances for specific encounters. It's a rabbit hole consuming hours. The new content centers on Kasumi and Maruki, whose confidant unlocks the third semester. That final semester recontextualizes everything, posing difficult questions about happiness, reality, and whether forcing painful truths actually helps people. It's thematically essential and arguably the emotional peak.
Yet fear not!
While Persona gets mainstream attention, mainline SMT remains the hardcore older sibling, darker, more punishing, philosophically bleaker. SMTV continues that tradition while refining demon collecting into one of the most mechanically satisfying systems available. The story drops you into post-apocalyptic Tokyo, remade into the Netherworld, a demon-infested desert where angels and demons wage war over conflicting ideologies. You fuse with a mysterious entity, becoming a Nahobino with power to fight back. The narrative is deliberately cryptic, parceling information through exploration and demon conversations rather than cutscenes. Combat is the heart. Press turn rewards exploiting weaknesses and punishes mistakes brutally. Hit a weakness, gain extra turns. Miss or hit resistance, lose turns. Enemies follow same rules, so encounters become risk-reward calculations. Risky high-damage spell that might miss, or guaranteed hits. Demon fusion is where you'll spend significant time. Hundreds of demons to recruit through negotiation, fusion, or wild encounters. Each has unique skills, resistances, stats, fusing demons to pass optimal skills, balancing elemental coverage, preparing backup demons for specific encounters. It's optimization heaven. The Vengeance expansion adds new storyline route, additional demons, quality of life improvements, refined balance. It addresses empty overworld spaces and uneven difficulty spikes while expanding content significantly. The alignment system influences endings. Choices push you toward law, chaos, or neutral philosophies. None are objectively correct. Law offers order at the cost of free will. Chaos promises freedom through survival of fittest. Neutral rejects both, but offers no clear solution.
Stop, Mushio, you piece of shit!
The Yakuza series pivoted from action brawler to turn-based RPG, and somehow it works brilliantly. Like a Dragon is equal parts Dragon Quest homage, crime drama, and absurdist comedy, a combination that becomes one of the genre's most charming entries. You play Ichiban Kasuga, a low-ranking Yakuza who takes the fall for his boss and spends 18 years in prison. Upon release, he discovers he's been betrayed, his clan dissolved, and the man he idolized abandoned him. Ichiban's response: rebuild from scratch with misfits while unraveling conspiracy reaching Japan's highest levels. Ichiban's personality drives everything. He's earnest, optimistic to a fault, obsessed with Dragon Quest, and sees himself as an RPG hero. That self-aware framing justifies the genre shift. Battles are visualized through Ichiban's imagination, where street punks become fantasy monsters, and improvised weapons are legendary equipment. Combat is menu-based, turn-based with positional elements. Characters move dynamically, so positioning affects effectiveness. Environmental objects, bicycles, traffic cones, furniture can be weaponized. The job system lets you change classes with unique skills and stat distributions. The real draw is side content. You'll manage business empires, race go-karts, play Sega arcade games, befriend a diaper-wearing baby who's secretly a brilliant investor, help a dominatrix find confidence, compete in karaoke with full music videos. The variety means you can ignore main plot for hours. The story tackles homelessness, political corruption, and Japan's destroyed underclass with surprising empathy. The crime drama hits hard because the game humanizes people society ignores.
One day you won't be able to go back, you know.
Square Enix refined HD 2D and improved on the original's formula, delivering a sequel addressing most complaints while doubling down on what worked. 8 protagonists, 8 storylines, turn-based combat with depth, and a world rewarding exploration. Classic JRPG design with modern polish. 8 characters with unique multi-chapter storylines. Hikari, the exiled prince, Agnia, the traveling dancer, Particio, the merchant ending poverty, Throne, the assassin escaping masters, Oswald, the imprisoned scholar, Casti, the amnesiac apothecary, Temenos, the cleric, investigating corruption, Oshet, the hunter, protecting home. Each story is self-contained, but shares thematic threads about power, identity, and ambition's cost. The sequel addresses minimal party interaction through crossed paths, special chapters where 2 stories intersect, creating narrative connections, making the party feel cohesive, rather than random travelers. Combat uses break and boost. Enemies have shield points and weaknesses. Hit weaknesses to deplete shields, break defense, deal massive damage during stun. Boost points accumulate each turn, letting you amplify actions. Managing when to break enemies, when to boost, which characters to focus creates tactical depth, keeping encounters engaging. Each character has unique path actions, overworld abilities interacting with NPCs. Hikari challenges people to duels and learns techniques. Agnia recruits followers. Particio buys information. Throne steals. These unlock different quest solutions and exploration options. The job system adds customization. Base classes can equip secondary jobs, creating hybrid builds. The HD 2D style continues impressing with pixel art on 3D environments, with lighting effects, creating retro yet modern aesthetics. Sabotage Studio created Sea of Stars as a love letter to 90s JRPGs, specifically Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG. The result is a 25 to 30-hour adventure capturing that era's magic while implementing modern quality-of-life improvements. You play Valere and Zale, solstice warriors trained to wield sun and moon magic. Their mission: stop the Fleshmancer, an immortal alchemist creating monstrous dwellers. The story hits familiar beats. Chosen heroes, world-threatening evil, power of friendship, but executes them with sincerity. It's straightforward heroic adventure told well. Combat uses timed inputs reminiscent of Mario RPGs. Tap when attacks land for extra damage. Press before taking hits to reduce damage. These mechanics keep you engaged rather than passively selecting menus. Enemy attacks have lock indicators, specific damage types that, if matched with your attacks, prevent powerful enemy moves. The combo system lets party members chain attacks for bonus effects. Build enough charge for ultimate attacks with unique animations. Battles stay dynamic through constant micro-decisions. Save combo points for ultimates or spend them breaking locks. Use healing now or trust you'll survive. Exploration emphasizes platforming and puzzles. No random encounters. Enemies are visible. You choose engagement. Dungeons involve environmental puzzles that gate progress without being obscure. The pixel art is gorgeous with expressive sprites and detailed environments. The soundtrack, composed by Yasunori Mitsuda, Chrono Trigger, is a standout, capturing 90s JRPG feel while being memorable independently. Here's something remarkable. Chained Echoes was developed primarily by one person, Matthias Linda, over several years. What he created is a sprawling JRPG rivaling studio productions in scope, mechanical depth, and ambition. The world of Volandis is recovering from generations of war between 3 kingdoms. You control mercenaries, sky pirates, and reluctant heroes caught in escalating conflicts involving mechs, ancient magic, and political conspiracies. The story starts grounded in war's messy aftermath, deserters surviving, villages destroyed, soldiers questioning orders, before escalating into world-ending stakes. That progression feels earned. Combat uses the overdrive system, replacing traditional MP. A meter fluctuates during battle based on actions. Stay in green zone for bonus damage. Let it drift to red through spamming powerful moves and suffer penalties. It forces varied tactics rather than optimal rotations. Skills have different heat values. Some push meter up, others cool down, and managing balance becomes second nature. Character progression avoids traditional leveling. Instead, you gain skill points from story progress and optional content, allocating across multiple skill trees per character. You're always growing stronger through intentional choices rather than grinding. Every encounter is placed deliberately, no trash mobs padding playtime. Mech combat sections integrate surprisingly well. Certain moments put you in mechs with different abilities and resource management, breaking up standard combat flow without feeling bolted on. Recruitment expands your party significantly. Optional characters join based on side quests and exploration. The game features multiple endings based on choices, encouraging new Game Plus to see different outcomes. Red Hook Studios completely restructured the original's gothic horror roguelike formula. Instead of dungeon crawling and base management, you're on a road trip through a decaying world with deeply flawed heroes trying to reach a mountain and confront something. It's darker, more experimental, and divisive among original fans. The core loop centers on runs rather than persistent progression. Select 4 heroes, load them into a stagecoach, travel through regions filled with encounters, combat, story events, assistance points for healing or upgrades. Each run is self-contained, though you unlock new heroes, skills, and items between attempts, expanding subsequent options. The affinity system replaces stress mechanics. Heroes develop relationships, positive or negative, based on combat performance and story choices. High affinity grants combat bonuses and supportive abilities. Low affinity causes infighting, debuffs, and meltdowns during critical moments. Combat remains turn-based with position mechanics. Frontline fighters have different abilities than back row support. Enemy positioning matters because attacks have range and targeting restrictions. The token system introduces buffs, debuffs, and status effects, stacking and interacting complexly. Fights require prioritizing threats, managing resources, adapting when things go sideways, which they will frequently. The art direction doubles down on Mike Mignola-inspired aesthetics. Heavy shadows, exaggerated proportions, grotesque enemy designs emphasizing body horror. The narrator returns, Wayne June delivering grim commentary on failures and rare successes. The biggest departure is structure. DD1 was about building rosters and managing hamlets. The sequel strips that for roguelike runs, where permadeath loses heroes for current runs only. Furyu's sequel flew under most radars, which is unfortunate because it improves on the original significantly, while delivering unique blends of turn-based combat, social sim elements, and reality-bending narrative. You're trapped in Rido, a virtual world created by sentient AI Regret, who grants inhabitants the ability to relive lives and undo past mistakes. Sounds idyllic, except it's a gilded cage. You join the Go Home Club, determined to escape Rido and return to reality, even if that means facing painful truths they've been avoiding. The premise explores heavy themes: trauma, regret, escapism, temptation versus confronting reality. Each party member has deeply personal reasons for being in Rido, and character arcs deal with abuse, loss, identity, and self-worth. The game doesn't shy from dark subject matter, handling it with more nuance than shock value. Combat uses the imaginary chain system. You queue actions and see timeline predictions of how turns play out. Attacks have startup frames, hit windows, and recovery. You can time abilities to interrupt enemies, combo with allies, or adjust positioning, avoiding incoming attacks. It's semi-real-time disguised as turn-based, creating rhythm where you're constantly adjusting plans based on predicted outcomes. The social sim aspect involves building relationships with party members and NPCs through side quests and optional conversations. The causality link system visualizes connections between characters, revealing how everyone in Rido is interconnected through shared experiences. Dungeon design is the weakest element. Environments are repetitive, similar corridors, copy-pasted rooms, minimal visual variety. The soundtrack deserves mention with vocal tracks during combat, performed by virtual idols. Neo-Core Games took Arthurian legend, stripped away heroic romanticism, and built a dark tactical RPG around the question: what if Camelot fell? Arthur became a tyrant, and your Mordred resurrected to stop him. It's grim, morally complex, and mechanically dense in ways demanding respect. You lead knights, some from myth, others original, through Avalon, a twisted afterlife where the dead are trapped in eternal conflict. The story explores loyalty, honor, and whether redemption is possible for those who've committed unforgivable acts. Choices determine morality alignment, rightful or tyrannical, Christian or old faith, affecting available knights, story outcomes, and gameplay bonuses. Combat is grid-based tactical with action points, cover mechanics, and brutal consequences for mistakes. Permadeath is optional but encouraged for intended experience. Knights have distinct classes: vanguard tanks, ranged archers, magic users, assassins, each with skill trees offering multiple build paths. Positioning matters because flanking bonuses are significant, and being surrounded is often lethal. Injury and trauma systems add persistence between missions. Knights taking heavy damage might suffer permanent wounds, reducing stats or locking abilities. Psychological trauma from witnessing deaths or failing missions causes debuffs. Managing your roster becomes critical because you can't rely on the same core team. Injuries and exhaustion force rotation and building roster depth. The management layer between missions involves upgrading Camelot, researching new abilities, crafting equipment, and assigning knights to buildings for passive bonuses. The morality system influences more than story beats. Your alignment determines which knights join, which skills unlock, and which faction bonuses you receive. There's no objectively correct choice, just different playstyles with narrative consequences. So there's the list. 15 turn-based RPGs, proving the genre is more alive than it's been in decades. Some will become your new favorites. Others might not click, and that's fine. Taste is subjective. But here's the reality. If you've been sleeping on turn-based combat because you assumed it was outdated or boring, you're missing out on some of the best RPG design happening right now. Which one are you starting with? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this helpful, subscribe for more lists, reviews, and deep dives into games worth your time. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.